Hello?
Hello. Do you have a minute?
Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I have to do this interview for Folklore, and I thought talking to you about I guess mixing music would be the correct term. Or how do you define what you do, I guess, would be the first question.
I don't know. I define it as having a good time.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just a thing I enjoy doing.
Well, what exactly is it? Because it's changed over the years.
Well, it depends on moods. It depends on time of the day of the week, month, year.
Okay. Well, how about we start with how did you start to get into this mixing of music together? I mean, when did it start? What medium did you use? That sort of thing.
Well, I think it started way back when I was about 15. I bought one of the first portable reel-to-reels that ran on batteries with blue stamps and started recording stuff. And went from there, playing music. I like to record the music I played. Made a friend, Steve, who enjoyed doing the same things, experimented with stuff. I guess the extreme I took it to is in my pop culture college course. I did a reel-to-reel, 3 hours long, called Love Cycles, done all with lyrics from songs. Put the actual songs on the tape, but it was all done real lyrically, like starting out with songs like Lonely Girl and Lonely Boy, and then they progressed into, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know, it's just progressed more and more and more over the years, so I think it all just stems from my love of music.
When did you start making these mixes for other people?
Oh, gee. I was probably when I was in college, probably in the 70s, mid to late 70s, mid-70s, when I started actually doing it for other people.
Was this on reel-to-reels?
In the beginning, I did the reel-to-reel mixtapes for me.
Okay.
Just to have to play and listen to, and it was nice to have a variation of music. You don't have to. I've never really liked listening to an entire album by one artist or group. I like having things mixed up so that I can have things that I like. And then I found out that I think it actually started with other people asking me if I could make that or would I copy something from them. I don't like copying. I like everything to be original, so it went from there.
Okay. Well, so you moved from reel-to-reel to tape, correct?
Cassette.
To cassette, rather.
That's when I actually started doing it for other people.
Okay. What were the differences between the two?
Well, reel-to-reels took a lot longer to do. I mean, you're doing 3 hours worth of music before you get done. So it took a whole lot more to fill up. For me, that was fine, but if I was doing it for somebody else, it would just be it would be extremely too much time. So the cassettes actually made it a lot easier. I mean, I did things like, there was this one guy, I made him a collection of oldies from the 60s without repeating a song. He had 50 tapes, 50 90-minute tapes.
Wow.
All different. And his house burned down.
So, could you walk me through the process of? I mean, we kind of talked about reel-to-reels. What about the cassettes? How would you go about making a mixtape?
Well, it's easiest if you have one of two things. You have somebody tell you what their interests are, tell you what they would like, tell you specific songs. That's the easiest way to go. I was just saying when I started, well, again, I started on the cassettes basically for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then people hear them and say, I've made collections and sets for people. I've made one or two for people. I've made 50. I've made 20. And I've had comments like a lady that I graduated high school with just a few years ago. You're actually driving their car. When her parents died, as a gift I made her a CD of mixed music, and she said to me that it was like I knew her parents intimately, and she loved it and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's just I don't know, I just seem to have a knack for knowing people through music.
You said you made lists. I remember as a kid seeing lots and lots of lists of stuff. Was that all?
Yeah.
I really didn't know what they were so much. Was that specifically for people, or did you just have lists?
Every once in a while you'd think of, or somebody would suggest to you a theme, because I've done a lot of themed tapes and CDs over the years, and I really enjoy doing things. I've probably done 20, 25 themed tapes or CDs for, well, mostly a tape for Bill Marks. And he has a weird sense of things, as you know. So it's been kind of fun. I mean, I remember some of the titles I made for him. Like I made a tape called Space and Other Odysseys, where all of the songs on the cassette had to do with outer space or Martians or space travel, and you have to research your collection, and you have to go through all your stuff and find songs. You make the list. It might be 100, 120, 150 songs long, and then you start listening to extras and you edit it down to what's going to fit. And I remember that specifically because I led it off with a theme from the 2001 Space Odyssey, but I did it with the Ray Stevens thing where it's farm animals during 2001. Just because I knew Marksy would laugh because he is weird like that.
So we've kind of talked about how the process of kind of organizing the music, but I wonder if you could walk me through the actual process of making a mixed, let's say, cassette for now, because I remember it being a very specific way of doing it.
Well, I don't know exactly what you mean. I mean, you mean the technical aspect?
Yeah, the more technical aspects.
Well, it's just when I first started, of course, I was doing it all on vinyl. So I had my mixer and my two turntables, and if you remember, I used to crossfade everything, which I still have capabilities of doing, but on CD it's a lot harder. Some people really like the crossfading. I know people like Steve didn't like it because it cuts out the beginnings and the ends, or they're overcrossed so you can't discern one from the other. I always thought it was cool. But you know, after you have your music picked, and you got used to have put it in order, my albums, my vinyl would all be in order at my feet. And I would get the first two albums up on the two turntables, get them ready to go, drop the needle on the one, and have the headsets on, and while that one was being recorded, I would be queuing up on the headsets the other turntable, and have that ready to drop the needle and crossfade. That was sometimes the hardest thing to do, was to know exactly where, because every turntable is different.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to know where the turntable was going to go down, where the needle was going to go down onto the vinyl, so that it would fade like you wanted it to. Sometimes you'd miss and have to do it over. But the problem with that is on a mixtape that was totally mixed. If you messed up bad enough, you had to start the whole thing over again. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, no, exactly. Although in this interview you can tell me what you want. So.
Well, I have capabilities technically with my system, and none of it's top line. I just can't afford that, but it's a very nice job for what I want to do. I did one time in my life back 20 years, 25 years ago, I looked into, when Tony had his store downstairs, I looked into making a bunch of tapes and putting them in a store and selling them. And I know that they would have sold very easily shits and giggles, and he started reminding me of all the ASCAP regulations and the union things, and if you get caught having to pay fines and all that. So I said, screw it. Besides, I think once you start selling the stuff, because I never, ever charge money for them, once you start selling them, it's no longer fun. It's then a job.
Okay.
Although it would be a nice job.
Cool. Let's...
You have to be in a mood, too. I mean, like, I've been laying here this morning. I didn't have practice today. We took the day off to rest, and I'm laying here since probably 6:30 this morning thinking, you know, I really would like to go in and do a CD on the computer, which is the easiest way to do them. You can do them. Well, what used to take me to do like a 90-minute cassette, it would take me counting all of the picking the music and all, getting it ready and all that stuff. A 90-minute cassette would take me probably 3 to 5 hours, depending. You can sit on a computer now and I can do 80-minute CD in a matter of, and have the labels done in a matter of half hour, 45 minutes.
So...
And that's picking the music and everything.
Yeah. With that, I was kind of focusing on crossfading and the difference between cassette and CDs, but I guess that can be kind of a bigger question. I mean, you already talked about it being easier.
Well, you can't crossfade on a CD and still have separate, you know, where you can give it to somebody and they can click to song 3.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that because it would just be one song according to the technology. On the other hand, one thing that was even nicer about the cassettes is if I wanted to hear part of a song to decide if I wanted to use it or not, I can fast forward to the center of the song, I can fast forward to the end, whatever. Can't do that with CD. You know, it's either going to start at the beginning or it's not going to play.
Okay, yeah.
So there's all sorts of little intricacies concerning the different mediums.
I mean,
I haven't recorded on a reel-to-reel. Of course, I'm not sure my reel-to-reel would take it. It's about, what is it? It's 33 years old now, my reel-to-reel. 10 years older than you.
Yeah. Now, I know we've mentioned that there's, and you hear that there's an art to making a mix CD. Would you consider what you do an art?
Yeah, I think so. I've always considered music to be an art form, and you know, you grew up in this house. We don't do anything without music. I do consider it an art form simply because it's not just a no-mind thing where you just, and I know a lot of people do it that way. You know, you just say, hey, I'm going to put this guy's stuff on CD. You know, whoop-de-doo. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of stuff. I like people to be moved by them. I like people to enjoy what they're hearing. I like people to want to use them. You know, I have people, and my mix tapes especially, but even the CDs are, you know, all over the world. With exchange students and people that will go overseas, this, that, and the other. I still have ex-swimmers that tell me they still, you know, 20 years later, still listen to their senior tapes. I would say it's an art. And I think it comes from a basic, even more than basic knowledge of people's personalities and reading people. Because if you can't read people, then you're not going to be able to make something specifically for them. When I make my senior CDs now, or when I made my senior tapes, everyone is different. Everyone, there might be a couple that might have the same song on it, not many, but everything is, I try to do them towards what I feel that personalities are like.
Now, with that, you say that each of the CDs or tapes or reel-to-reels are different that you give to people. Are are there rules to how you do this? Are there guidelines that you follow?
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Well, I mean, like, you know, you said that you don't make exact copies.
No.
That would be.
I tell people, do not let somebody else copy these. Now, I can't be there to stop them from doing it. Everything is, you know, I used to say everything is signed and everything is original. And if somebody wants something, ask me. I don't like people copying my stuff for somebody else because then I don't know, I think it belittles it a little bit. It doesn't, it's not as important anymore because it's not for that person. You know what I mean? It's just a copy. I did it for this specific person, and they just made a copy for somebody else that has nothing to do with that other person.
Are there other kind of like guidelines that you follow while you're making these, or do you just?
No, it's all a feeling. You know, I'll change things quite often in the middle. I mean, I'll think I'll have it set. All of a sudden, a certain lyric or sound will remind me of something else. I mean, once you're committed to actually putting it on the medium that you're using, you're pretty much committed. But while I'm programming, while I'm listening, and that's why I listen to excerpts and everything I'm going to put on, different things will remind me of something else, and I'll say, I would rather use this, or maybe I'll use this in addition to this, or maybe this would follow through. I know when I made my first, probably during the 70s, I made my first anti-war tapes that I made for probably 15 or 20 different people, and every single one of them is somewhat different because it evolved over a 10-year period. And if I was to sit down and make that again, which I just did actually, not just a couple of years ago, I made it for Ken Blair because he was calling me a heathen.
What about, I mean, do you use the same artists on a CD? Is there anything about that?
I don't know. Very, very, very seldom will there be an artist or group repeated on the same tape or CD. Very seldom. Occasionally, yes. Unless I'm making, again, it depends what I'm making. Like I made one a couple of years ago called There Were Four. And to me, that was for me. To me, there were four giant groups from the 60s. The Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Animals, and the Rolling Stones. And so that whole CD is made up only of songs by those four groups. I know Leo Salmon, just after the concert the other night, he asked me if I'd make him a CD of Aztec Two-Step, which I'll do, so the whole thing will be Aztec Two-Step, but that's not what I really do, because that's not what I enjoy doing. It's, that's just copying.
Mm-hmm. So you have a decent-sized music collection. Are there any genres that you collect more of, or you try and get a little bit of everything?
You know the answer to that. I get everything and anything. I'll take everything and anything, but I just absolutely adore 60s music.
Why?
And it was my era, my genre. I grew up with it. The Beatles, Elvis Presley started it all. Jerry Lee Lewis came up through with the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, all those people I just mentioned, and the one-hit wonders, and you come all the way through it, the music and the movies that were made during that time period, and things had a lot of meaning, and we knew what it meant to us, not what it meant to somebody else, because there was no MTV and VH1. Of course, they don't play music on those anymore anyway. They're all reality shows. But we didn't have somebody else, a video or something else, telling us what the music was supposed to mean to us. So every time I hear a song, not every time, but a vast majority of the time I hear a song from that era, it makes me think of something from that era. It reminds me of something I was doing at the time. It reminds me of I know like the song Cherry Cherish by the Association reminds me of one of my first girlfriends. You know, because that was a song we listened to a lot. Crimson and Clover by Tommy James and the Sean Bells, that's a different girlfriend kind of a situation. And there were songs that remind me of sporting events and whatnot. There were, you know, and that's why I like that. But on the other hand, I just played a CD at practice yesterday, and all of a sudden Nick Clemens looks up and goes, "You like cake?" Yeah, I love cake. They're great. And I love the Fountains of Wayne. And I like Avril Lavigne. I like anybody that can sing, actually. Christina Aguilera is one of my favorite artists. My mother says she's one of my favorite artists, too. More of an artisan.
And actually, some of the music I hear from the 60s now remind me of certain practices as a swimmer and bring tears to my eyes, not in a good way.
It was nice as you were growing up to be able to turn you on to people like Harry Chapin and stuff that you have come to love. And, you know, although you have your own taste in music, and that's terrific. I mean, you always loved Tool, which I've never quite got. Their music. And I don't know if it's because you're more into the instrumental aspect than I am, and I'm more into the lyrical aspect. I don't know. But I listen to most anything. I love classical music. I got heavily into the 40s music and the swing music, and that was because my parents asked me one time to put some 40 stuff on tape for them, and I'm going, "Oh, isn't this going to be lovely?" And Cynthia walked in and said, "What are you playing?" By this time, I'm tapping my foot and bobbing my head, having a good time. Cynthia walked in and says, "This stuff is great," and sat down and listened to it. And I mean, there's hardly anything I don't like. I'm not a big opera fan, but I've listened to opera and I've gone to opera.
One more kind of technical question. Now, there are limitations on what people can listen to these days. I mean, people don't even have tape players anymore. But if you had a choice, if you could go and create mixed whatevers, what would be your preferred medium now?
I hate to actually admit it, but I think CD would now be my choice. And it is funny I say that because, see, I have the capabilities in my system to put vinyl on CD.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really sold out because I can still say the pops and cracks are the heart and soul of music because you listen to the pops and cracks on your vinyl. I mean, when you've had vinyl, unless you took exceptional care of it, after you've played it 5 or 6 times, it's going to start to poppily and crackly.
Yeah.
As I used to always say, that's the heart and soul of music. So, but I can put that on CD and still have the pops and the cracks. and I still have 8-track capabilities, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
But that beautiful console that I got from your great-grandmother that nobody else wanted. And of course, it was all that was left. But I love it. It's you know, and it's been great. I mean, you and your sister got to grow up with this stuff. I mean, in my lifetime, I can't tell you how many mixed tapes or CDs or reels I have made. Could there be 1 million hours? Possibly. I don't know. I don't know how long that is.
Well, with that, I mean, how much time do you spend on this? Like a day or a week? I mean, is it?
Well, I started to say before, since about 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning, I've been thinking about getting up and going and doing a couple. But I figure Mother would be pissed because it's quality bedtime on Saturday watching TV. She says I lied to her. She says I didn't tell her I didn't have any meets this weekend. But no, she never listens to me, and I told her 1 million times.
Well, I'll make sure to present that to my class.
Fine. Hey, I was on TV yesterday.
Why?
Nick Clemens was Athlete of the Week.
Oh, nice.
So I got interviewed. I was on TV, and even your mother said I didn't look too bad. But
Well,
I can't tell you. It's different. Different times of the year. You know, when swim season is not on, I do a lot more. You know, I might spend a couple of weeks where I do 2 or 3 a day. If I'm on, I don't know. I did the Carthage coach loves coming to our pool because she loves that music, and so as a surprise, I'm doing a couple for her and her daughter that I'll give to them as sectionals next weekend. And like I say, I don't like charging for it because then it takes something out of it. I'm not quite as greedy as you know those people that killed Master.
Metallica?
Yeah. I've purged my collection of Metallica. They were multi-millionaires and they were just too greedy to, you know, let. And, you know, here's just a little thing. I know it's off the subject, but
Sure.
you know I digress a lot. But I would guarantee you that probably since I've had computer download capabilities from what has that been, 7 or 8 years now, whatever, probably most of the stuff I have that I've bought in the last 7 or 8 years comes from hearing it from online downloads.
Mm.
So, sue me.
All right, two more questions, and I'll let you go. You've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but what makes your mixes different from other people's?
It's just because my heart and soul's in it. Most people just throw crap together. They don't really think about it. There's no thought process that goes into what they're making. And do they really think much about the person that they're doing it for? I highly doubt that. In most cases, not all cases, there's some people, I know there's people out there that do what I do. And probably do it as well, if not better. But I would say the vast majority just throw stuff together. They don't know the mediums, the different types of mediums. They don't know the technical aspects as well. Let me put it this way. I have yet to ever, well, I take that back. I was going to say I've yet to have anybody offer to make me one. But that's not true, as you know. I've had a couple of swimmers that have made ones for me. I've had children that have made them for me. But
Whether you listen to them or not is a different story.
I listen to everything. I mean, I try to rotate things when I listen, so that I'm not always hearing the same stuff. It's like in the shop now with the radio. I listen to LLG because I like to hear the local and the national news. But there comes a certain time when I can no longer stand all the country music, and it's not that I don't enjoy listening to country music. It's that I despise when country musicians run out of things to write about, so they steal 60 songs to make $1 million on. And that's when I say, if I want to hear music from the 60s, then I'm going to hear it by the original people, and I flip it over to the oldie station.
Mm. So, and you've already explained this a little bit, but kind of as a last question, why is this important to you? Why is doing this important to you?
Oh, I don't know. It makes me feel good. It makes me want to whistle, if you know what I mean. It makes me feel good. I think music is what makes the world go round. Without music, this world would be a really sad place. And if I can pass some things and have something to say, or that make a mood, or belong to somebody else, then that makes me feel good. See, I think your mother would even say that I've made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours with music on cassette and CD for her. And she keeps telling me, I'm still getting to know your mother, I guess, because she's told me the last 2 or 3 I've made her, each one is the best one I've ever made for her. And that makes me feel good, so.
Yeah, I wonder with that, because I've actually liked your latest CDs much more than I have many of the ones in the past. I wonder if that's because you've gotten better, or because I like the music that you like more than I did.
I would say there's a combination of a lot of things there. I would say that I've gotten better in a number of ways. I mean, I've gotten better in the technical aspects, but I've also gotten better in knowing what direction to go in and what people would like, and this, that, and the other. And I also think that you have been so inundated with my music that I think you have realized that over the years, I remember in the beginning it was like pulling teeth to get you to listen to anything, because my stuff sucked. And then you discovered that, well, maybe it doesn't suck quite as bad as I thought it did. And so it's an evolution. I mean, it took me, like I said, I would never listen to crap my parents listened to when I was a teenager. Now I listen to it all the time. So it's an evolution. If you, I don't know, it really depresses me sometimes when I meet people that seriously don't listen to music and don't really care what you play it. So I would be hard pressed to make a CD or tape for somebody who I know doesn't really appreciate music, unless I'm trying to get them to, which I have done a couple of times.
Well,
I also have lists in my stereo room of theme tapes that I've thought of or that Marxie's given me that I haven't gotten to yet. Because theme tapes are the hardest to do. Because you have one theme that you're going for, and you've got to go through everything you've got to get out as many as you can. So those lists are still there.
Does the internet make that easier to do you think, or do you not bother with it?
As what?
Does the internet make it easier to do that?
Yeah, I think in a way it does, because if I can, download from the internet, I found that if you just go to whatever downloader you're using, and you just say you wanted to do a tape on a CD on hate, you just type in the word hate, and like hundreds of songs pop up that have the word hate in the title. And so you can download some of those to use. It is vastly more easy with the technology today than it used to be. Although, I sometimes think that's cheating. I'm old school. What'd you say, Cynthia? Did you just call me an old fart?
Well, I don't have any more questions, but if you have anything else you'd like to say about it, go right ahead.
Well, like I said, it's just something that I've always enjoyed doing, and it's been since a very young age, even when I didn't have the money or the technical knowledge. There's still a lot of people out there that have a lot more technical knowledge on this than I do, and I would love to be in a studio. I'm telling you, I call mine a mini studio, but it's really a long ways off of that. But I look at those giant mixing boards, and I just dream of what I could do with those things. Although the mixing board I have now, I haven't figured it all out yet. I've had it for 3 years. It's just a lot bigger than the one I used to have.
Yeah.
And as your mother says, I don't use it as much because the computer is easier and you can get lazy. I've been procrastinating about doing the Aztec two-step because most of what I have by Aztec two-step is on vinyl. And it's all signed now. But, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's just something that makes me feel good. That's the bottom line, is I feel good when I'm doing it. And I feel good when the product is finished and I hand it to the person. Or put it in a CD for me.
All right. Thanks a lot. It'll be useful.
You can do me a favor.
What's that?
Call your sister and